Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ray Talks, the series AgriVision, Hear from the Leaders. In this series, Ray Consulting brings the leaders who have made the difference in their respective fields, who are leading their domain either through research, stewardship, or making a difference in various ways. Today's subject is something I call it a different subject, though it is since universe existed, this subject existed. Incidentally, not so much focus was given, probably still not given to this subject. But there are leaders like Dr. K.R. Reddy, leaders like Professor M.S. Reddy, who are making their best efforts to make this subject not only reach to the farming community for a sustainable agriculture, but also see that how it's made viable. When I say viable, it is not in terms of cost, price, but various ways how this science can be used for the benefit of agriculture. Frankly, I just don't know about this subject. Thanks to Dr. K.R. Reddy, about 1.5 years ago, when I met him in his office, he took us through the discussion. It was mind-boggling. And when I started this series, Ray Talks, I jumped onto this opportunity and requested Dr. K.R. Reddy. I said, we all come from typically, agri-inputs industry, but may not be so much aware of the domain, biologicals, more so microorganisms. What Dr. K.R. Reddy is going to do today is something. Before I speak about him, now we have been talking about this subject. I took his time slot for today's discussion. And to make the webinars, to make the discussions, to make the conversations not only alive and see that it makes sense to the attendees. It's not only we are who are making the efforts. You are all taking out so much time and are keen to attend our discussions, and you should have something to take back. So when I was talking to him, for him it was such an easy thing, He was so seamlessly walking on a tightrope about the subject. But when I felt, probably besides his speaking, if we can bring some visuals during this discussion, so that people, I call myself as a layman in this subject, when I hear him, it would make, I'm not telling more sense, but it will make a lasting impression, so that, they say, visuals are the best way to remember. And trust me, my friends, in less than 2 days, he has come out was an outstanding presentation. And today when I saw that, I was tempted to tell Dr. Reddy, you should use this as a presentation for the benefit of all the attendees and audience, so that, it will be very well connected to us. So, friends, once again, welcome to this outstanding series, Ray Talks. We are overwhelmed with the support, love across the globe. In less than 6 weeks, this is 9th episode. And Dr. Reddy, we are honored to have you for this. Today's episode is aptly titled, that role of agri-microbiomes in sustainable agriculture. Rather, not only role, Dr. Reddy is going to speak about business sense too. For most of us, Dr. Reddy, I'm preempting this thought in you in the beginning. For most of us, I feel this is an extremely good entrepreneurial journey. Probably we need your help if someone comes forward to take your guidance and support. I'm sure you will be lending a hand for them. So friends, now let me introduce Dr. K.R.K. Reddy. Most of us who are in this field know him. He is an outstanding researcher and a very rare combination of techno-commercial strengths. Since I know him, he is in this field. He is currently, I would say currently, he is the promoter, managing director of Shree Bioaesthetics Private Limited, based out of Hyderabad. He is a globetrotter. He visits with a little opportunity to learn, to grab, and to offer anything that is related to his field, that is microbiomes. Dr. K.R.K. Reddy obtained his MSc and PhD in plant sciences from Kakatiya University, Warangal, and his double postdoctoral, one in Central University of Hyderabad, that is in India, and the other one at University of Bayreuth, Germany. Dr. Reddy started way back in 1994, Shree Biotech Laboratories, his previous company. The in-house R&D of the company is well recognized, was well recognized by national and international research institutions. The development of research led to deliver novel systems which can go hand in hand with farmers' regular practices. Under his leadership, the company has received many national and international grants to establish collaborative research under public-private partnerships in plant biotechnology. Dr. Reddy has guided many MSc, PhD, and postdoctoral students in biotechnology. He is on the boards of biotech committees, which includes Osmania University, Kakatiya University, Yogi Vemana University, Nagarjuna University, and Padmavati Mahila University. He has served the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India, as a member of Task Force on Biofertilizers and Biopesticides. He is the founder president of Bio-Agri-Inputs Producers Association, BIPA, and I'm happy to be associated with you, Dr. Reddy, through BIPA also, that I'm the executive director of BIPA and we are a secretariat for the same. He is a member of FICCI Telangana Subcommittee on Agriculture and Food Processing, CII Telangana. He has received several awards such as Best R&D, Best MSME, Best Innovation, Best Industry from Honorable President Dr. Abul Kalam. That was the best thing happened, I feel personally, because the award getting from Dr. Kalam itself speaks accolades about your work. Italian giant Valagro, a global leader in its own sense, which is in commercialization of biostimulants and specialty nutrients, acquired a majority stake of Shree Biotech Laboratories, and Shree Bios has been recognized for its contribution to the development of, sorry, I missed the point. So, because of that, now Dr. Reddy had to start a new company, Shree Bioaesthetics. As I mentioned, it is based out of Hyderabad. Now, what is Shree Bioaesthetics' objective, principle? It is involved in crop microbiome research and product development to address the current problems of agricultural crops and their sustainable development. Serving an international advisory board and vice president of Asian PGPR Society for Sustainable Agriculture since its inception. So, when I read this biodata, when I heard about this biodata, don't you all feel that, he's a multitasking personality by himself? Doctor, you have a series of questions from me which I had already indicated to you, because I am a lay person for this subject, and I know you have a lot of patience with this beautiful smile, that you would be willing to answer all these questions, not only for my benefit, but for the benefit of microbiomes and for a sustainable agriculture. So, can we go ahead, Doctor?
Good afternoon and namaste everyone. This is the order of the day.
Yes.
So no more shake hands. So thank you, Dr. Raz, for a nice and exhaustive introduction. Yes, today's topic, yes, you mentioned, it is microbiomes and their applications in agriculture, and how these microbiomes helps the crop productivity and also sustainability. We all know, everyone, I think most of the audience, I think they know, they're all from agriculture background, and most of them are all, once again, from input industry or academia or scientists associated with agriculture. So ages we are using microbes in our agriculture, certainly. We all know biofertilizers, biopesticides or biocontrol agents. So now the situation is different. So we have moved very far from the conventional way of the biofertilizers to the microbiome and microbiome engineering approach. And the volumes of literature, the volumes of research is going across the globe on human microbiome. And we all know the human beings, so we are only 10% human beings, 90% microbes. So if you see the number of cells in anybody's body, the 90% of the cells belongs to microbial communities, and the rest is only the human. I'm not talking about the body mass, weight. I'm only talking about the number. So likewise, if you take one spoonful of soil, you see millions and millions of microbes. So microbes are there everywhere. They are omnipresent, ubiquitous in nature. So you see microbes in water, soil, air, everywhere. And this is a general science and general microbiology, but they're all invisible to our eye. But they does wonderful, wonderful help to the mankind. And if you talk about the plants and agriculture, without microbes, I don't think we can survive. Without microbes, I don't think we can produce anything. Contrary, flip side, the microbes are also dangerous, and we are in now the era of COVID, and we are facing the problems of the virus and the viral infections. At the same time, yes, maybe my presentation, next maybe 25 to 30 minutes, will talk about how these microbes helps in agriculture. And this will be having kind of a 3 parts. And of course, everyone knows it, microbes. Yeah. And how to manipulate these microbiomes for the benefit of agriculture.
Yeah. Dr. Reddy.
So, pardon?
Yeah. What I want, okay, sorry for interruption. See, what I wanted was, I have few things in mind which we gathered from when we conceptualized this thought to talk to you. Few questions have come to us and we collected some of them. So can I read out those questions for you so that we can incorporate kind of in your thoughts while you're talking?
Can we do it at the end of the presentation?
No, these are few basic questions which are related.
Please.
Already, I can see we did not even 5 minutes were into this discussion. A lot of audience are raising their hands to ask questions to you. We would request them to have little patience. I think most of your questions would be answered by Dr. K.R.K. Reddy. That's exactly I'm trying to put it across. And if you still feel that there are few things which is yet to, you want a specific thing, please, we will surely entertain you to take the questions. So probably bear with us for about another 30 minutes or so. So let's hear Dr. Reddy. Dr. Reddy, see, typically my few things for you is, I know you would be speaking about what are agri microbiomes. What are the roles in crop plants? See, for me, as a farmer, if I take, or as a corporate, if I take, a farmer would use, or I would be interested in this business only if they help in enhancing crop productivity. So what is a crop productivity it is going to help? And I'm putting these questions one after the other so that you can answer at your convenience through the presentation or otherwise also. Which are the various ways these agri microbiomes can be applied in agriculture? Like in pesticides, we have wettable powders, emulsified concentrates, soluble powders, stuff, many granules and all. So I'm sure there might be various methodologies or concepts where we can use. So we would like to hear from that. And what is the relationship because of which the plants either have more productivity or they are getting immunity because of this usage? What we call it as an engineering. What is that bonding between the microbes and the plants that is creating this immunity? And are the microbes globally accepted practice in agriculture? Which are the countries which is encouraging this and where the farmers are accepting this? So with some of these questions, I would request you to go ahead with the thing. And already there is a question on regulatory affairs. You please cover that point also.
Sure, I will try to answer almost all of your questions.
Lovely.
Presentation. Most probably I will be covering all those things.
Yes, yes.
May I go for my short presentation?
Yes.
Is it visible?
Yes. You can go to the slide presentation mode. Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. See, we are talking about agriculture. It's greatest success. We talk about the Green Revolution, second Green Revolution, and the hand-to-mouth situation to today we have buffer stock across the country. Even there is no agriculture for 1 year, I think we are able to sustain because of the stocks available in the country. And but this Green Revolution resulted it left some bad remarks too. And we know everyone it's a serious environmental concern. So nowadays, high use of so many chemicals, fertilizers, pesticides, everything. And seriously, soil damaged a lot. And of course, the food chains and food webs, water bodies also contaminated. But at this moment, we can't say no to chemicals. They are very, very essential, very important. But only thing is their judicious use is also very important for the present context. And we know what happened to our ecosystem. And we know also the population growth and also increased environmental concerns and food requirement for the future population growth, reaching 9 billion by 2050. Definitely, there is a good demand for alternate agriculture or alternate agri-inputs, or we can say that the biological agri-inputs. I will just define what is biological agriculture. See, this is environmentally a very responsive farming method through exploitation of beneficial microbes to increase crop productivity. So why microbes? Definitely, I think course of time I will be explaining the role of microbes and their relationship. But recently, the climate change and ecosystem contaminations and also the various pathogens really damaging the crop, and agriculture is also at risk. And the world over, everyone's concern is to go for minimizing the chemical input, usage in agriculture, and also more of eco-friendly agriculture, organic agriculture, or natural farming, something people are talking about. And also, people have gone extent of zero budget farming. But at the end of the day, what is most important, how to produce in a sustainable manner, not compromising on the crop quality and productivity. And we are talking about the microbiomes and the microbes, and the microbes are very, very essential. And without microbe, a plant may not sustain or survive. That is the stage. And if you look really deep into the subject, one can understand how microbes are very, very, very important. Maybe couple of slides will be on this kind of relationship, how the associations between what is the benefit of microbe, the benefit between the microbe and the plants. So all organs, right from the root to the shoot, flowers or stems or even seeds are all interact. They're all having, every organ has microbial association. And you see, we talked about the microbial communities, and we talked about the microbial population dynamics across the vegetation, across the life cycle, across the various habits and habitats. But coming to the microbes, as we talked about, there are good and bad microbes, certainly, and also there are certain neutral microbes. So we are talking about at this context only about the good microbes, how these good microbes helps in crop productivity and also sustainability. There are two different meanings, both productivity and sustainability. See, coming to these microbes, what is good, what is bad, what is neutral? There are good microbes. We call them as PGPRs or biofertilizers or biopesticides, which can help the plant alleviating stress, as well as it also helps in nutrition, it also helps in disease management, and also sometimes bioremediations. So those microbes, which helps the plant communities to thrive well, we call them good. And at the same time, like several pathogens, so these pathogens really cause damage to the plant in every stage of its life cycle. Pathogen, they damage seeds and also germinating seedlings and the leaf, fruit, everything, whatnot. We have several pathogens. We have viral pathogens, fungal pathogens, we also bacterial pathogens, even some microbial other pathogens like nematodes and other things. So these are the bad candidates, and we have good candidates we also mentioned. And at the same time, there are several neutral microbes. These microbes, they only take the shelter on the plant without causing any harm. It may be shelter or food or something like that, but it will derive shelter and food from the plant, but plant may not get anything out of it, and they are neutral, it will not damage the crop. So therefore, all the microbes we can classify into good microbes, bad microbes, and neutral microbes. And these microbes, they coexist. And the plants, as I mentioned, so plants are immobile, and definitely they produce some exudates, and the exudates attracts the microbes, and the microbes enters into the plant and takes shelter on the surface, and they also produce some compounds, and they are the beneficial to the plant in many ways. So those are all listed in the next slide. So there is an existence and coexistence and co-evolution of microbes and plants. There is a lot of research and also documentation is there. So now all these microbes, whatever the microbe, it may be a viral, bacterial, fungal, any microbe associated with a plant in a particular habitat, we call it as a microbiome collectively. So now whatever we call the biofertilizers, biostimulants, or biopesticides, all collectively you can call as microbiome. So the definition is the set of genomes of the microorganisms in a particular habitat, or set of microorganisms present the soil, maybe free living, maybe symbiotic, maybe associated, maybe on the surface of the leaf or surface of the stem, or maybe inside the tissues of the stem or within the roots. So therefore, all the microbial communities, all the microbes which are associated in a particular environment with a plant, that is called as a microbiome. It's a holistic. So these microbiomes are in different origin. You can see aerial microbiomes, that means the microbes which are present in the air, aquatic microbiomes, terrestrial, like on the land, like a plant microbiome, once again, insect microbiome, animal microbiome, human microbiome. Irrespective of it, wherever they grow, if they are associated with the plant, we call it as a plant microbiome. If the plant is a crop plant, we call it as a crop plant microbiome or crop microbiomes. So they exist in almost all ecosystems, and they are all composed of diverse microbial communities. Not one, many, hundreds and thousands of microbial communities are there. So you know these are all once again maybe Actinomycetes or fungal strains or bacterial, the many kinds. They all thrive well. So there is a good association and also a bad association. If you go down, once again, if you talk about the crop, so we know we have the seed, the basic input of our agriculture, and the soil, another very important medium, and also the growing plant. And you will find these microbes on the surface of the seed or within the seed as endomicrobes. So these seeds are once again inherited, something like that. While they are in flowering, while they are forming a seed or a fruit, these microbes are packed by the plant itself. That means there is a selection. Sometimes, okay, randomly they will be there, but sometimes the plant, they select their own microbes, they pack with the seed. Yes, so these are all amazing, research, discoveries. And any seed, definitely we will see the microbes on the seed surface or within the seed. So if you see these microbes within the seed, we call it as a seed microbiome. That means microbes are associated with the seed, maybe as an epiphyte or an external or endomicrobes. Likewise, rhizosphere, very dynamic. And we can see plenty, thousands and millions of microbes, maybe damaging microbes or useful microbes. And within the useful microbes, we talk about the nutrient utilization helping microbes, and also disease suppressing microbes. And also we can see the microbes which can promote root growth. So many kinds of microbes are also we can see in the root areas, where you can see the bulk soils are free, living microbes, and the microbes are also on the surface of the roots, microbes that are inside the plant. We know the classical example is rhizobium, that is endosymbiont. Likewise, we have the phyllosphere microbes. That means you can see the microbes on the surface of the plant. It may be on the leaf surface or stem surface or even on the petals or in the flowers. There are several, but the degree of effectiveness is more in the soil as well as the seed microbe. And also there are hundreds and hundreds of functions done by these microbes. And endosphere. I'm talking about these microbes, they survive, they lodge, they settle inside the host plant. And it's once again, sometimes they are symbiotic or asymbiotic also in nature. That means they take only shelter. Sometimes they take shelter and also help the plant in many ways. Sometimes they produce the volatile compounds that helps the plant become tolerant to insects. Sometimes they produce enzymes. Because of these enzymes, the plant become resistant to certain diseases. Sometimes they produce growth promoting hormones and they induces the growth. So there are several microbes which are also we can see inside the plant. So therefore we have seed-borne or maybe seed-associated microbes, rhizosphere, and also phyllosphere on the plant side and inside the plant. Apart from that, we have one more microbiome, that is insect microbiome. That means, of course, here nothing to do with the plant, but these are very, very important microbes because we know how to protect. There is, other than pathogens like microbes, the insects are also a serious menace to the crops. And there are several bioagents like entomopathogenic viruses, entomopathogenic bacteria, entomopathogenic fungi, and also entomopathogenic nematodes. So they kill insect larvae, insects. So therefore the insect microbiome is also very important for agriculture. So as I mentioned, the bacterium, fungi, nematodes, viruses, they kill the insects. So these are the various kinds of microbiomes which we can exploit, which we can definitely, it's a big opportunity as a agribusiness model. So these microbiomes, I'm talking about the plant microbiomes, crop microbiomes, and the interactions we talked about, these interactions between the plant and the microbes, interaction between the plant, microbe, and insect. There's a multiple interactions goes on. And there are several kinds of mechanisms. There are direct actions, there are indirect actions, there are interactions. So, of course, we have listed here, there are nitrogen fixation, phosphate solubilization, phytohormone production, siderophore production, antibiotic productions, hydrolytic enzymes are produced, antifungal compounds are produced, like there are so on and so forth. There are many kinds of metabolites, enzymes are produced by these microbes, which helps in the plant. And in return, the plant gives food and shelter to these microbes. There's an excellent association between the plant and microbe. Yes, coming to how to exploit these microbes. Yes, we know they are all natural. Nothing is engineered. They're all natural microbes which are available in our ecosystems. But unfortunately, because of usage of these chemical fertilizers, chemical pesticides, other pollutants, we are sometimes losing these microbial communities which are essential for the plant growth and development. So this is the time to reintroduce. This is the time to reintroduce these good microbes into the crop ecosystem. So before that, these microbes, we need to identify, characterize, understand their nature. Then only we can make a delivery system or a formulation. Then we can give it to a farmer to use on his cropland. So for that, these are the working platforms. We call them omics. So genomics, proteomics, and genomics, transcriptomics, phenomics, and metabolomics. So these are the various kinds of technological innovations, what we studied maybe 30, 40 years back, and what we understanding of these microbes at the minute level, from the metabolic level to phenomic level to genetic level, understanding of each microbe and its function. We have tools. That's why I mentioned it as a microbiome toolbox. So these are the tools where we can apply and understand the mode of actions and functions of each microbe. These are the various kinds of validations. If you have a microbe, how this microbe is giving nutrition to the plant, how this microbe is interfering, mitigating the stress. It may be drought stress or salt stress or temperature stress or water stress. And how this microbe is producing hormones, how these microbes helps the plant to grow. So like there are several studies we can conduct, experiments we can conduct and understand the nature of the microbe and plant interactions and what a plant can do, what a microbe can do to the plant. So these are the various studies available. Tools are ready. All kinds of tools, I said, phenomic tools or genomic tools or metabolic tools or genomic tools. All the tools are right now available to understand the functions of a microbe and their associations with the plants. This is the microbiome influence on the crop. How these microbes influences. Yes, we understand nowadays seed coating, seed priming is a real good business opportunity. All big multinational companies are there. I'm not talking about only the chemical, even biological seed treatments. Definitely seed health can be managed using the microbiomes and also the nutrition and soil fertility management, insect pest management using entomopathogenic microbes, and the disease management can be used, through biocontrol agents like trichodermas or pseudomonas and bacillus strains. So likewise, there are so many functions of these microbes on the crops. Yes. At the same time, there are two ways of understanding these microbiomes. One is synthetic microbiomes, another one is natural microbiomes. Synthetic in the sense, I'm not talking about, once again, the genetically modified. and you can make a combination of microbes which can be used which can be introduced into the cropland ecosystem. And at the same time, the native microbiomes, which are really a natural association between the microbes and the plants. So this association is strongly based on the types of the metabolites released by a particular plant or a particular plant species. So that means we cannot see maybe 90% of the microbes we can see everywhere, but 10 to 15% or 5% of the microbes very specific to a particular root zone. It's all the selective, selection of certain microbes or recruiting microbes by a particular plant, because this particular plant produces, every species produces different kinds of exudates. They release small molecules into the soil, and thereby it attracts the microbial communities. Every plant releases is all different. So likewise, our gut microbiomes are different. Likewise, even soil microbiomes or rhizosphere microbiomes are different from crop to crop. But here I mentioned that the crops to recruit top performing microbes is the key for the future agriculture. So therefore, we need to understand the likes and dislikes of a plant. We need to understand what kind of microbial communities can be associated with a particular plant species. So this is where we can actually manipulate the rhizospheres, manipulate the microbiomes, and by engineering them. Coming to the engineering of microbiomes. What is it? It's a big word, engineering. It is nothing but assembling. So that means assembling of various microbes. That means it is a consortium, what we generically call a consortium of microbes. What kind of consortium? This is a tailor-made. We need to understand the functions of every microbe. As I told you, the microbes involves in nutrient uptake and nutrient utilization. Some are associated with the drought or abiotic stress. Some are associated with the biotic stress. So some produces hormones. So understand each and their environment, what kind of pH they can thrive, what kind of soils and what kind of plants can be associated. So understanding each microbe, understanding the plant requirement, then you make a consortium and you can release and you can modify the microbiomes of a particular crop. So that's what we call it as the engineering, microbe engineering.
Doctor, can I hold you on this for a second?
Yeah.
I see when you speak about engineering of microbiomes, and then you're talking about bringing complex of microbiomes to suit. I mean, you mentioned what likes and dislikes of plants. Very interesting. Different plants have likes and dislikes. So when you create an engineering of microbiomes, I mean, several microbiomes together, have you done any studies, or do you have any product from your portfolio where you have done several microbes coming together specific to a particular plant and then helping it?
Yes, exactly. See, in fact, actually, we have launched a MyAgribiome platform
Yes.
a year, 2 years back, where it's nothing but understanding the microbial communities and their association to a particular crop. Like take banana or citrus or maybe grapes or something like that. And we are isolating the rhizosphere soil from length the 5-6 states and where a particular banana crop grows. And now looking at the variations of the microbial community. It's a very big task. As I told you, we have the toolbox, but there are so many kinds of studies. We are now understanding at least about the functional microbes. Are essential microbes. This is very important point. There must be millions and millions of microbes. As I mentioned here, there is only 1% of microbes only we can culture about. There are millions of microbes present in the soil everywhere, but only as of today, so 1% or less than 1% are culture, where you can bring back to the lab and you can culture and you can study. You can once again reintroduce. So we are only within the limits. Only we are talking about isolations, identifications, characterizations, maybe biochemical characterization or molecular characterization, and also attributing the functions. What functions it is? Nowadays, we have one microbe, one function. one microbe, many functions. So we have one organism which can be used as a growth promoter, which can
Yes.
control diseases, which can also control some insect pests. So bacillus strains, wonderful strains are available. So we are working on it. So yeah, coming to these microbial manipulations or engineering the microbiomes.
Doctor, I need one more. I haven't. I'm tempted to ask one more question related to the previous slide. See, when you speak about, there are several microbes which each one or a group of them are effective against, say, for example, growth promotion or productivity or maybe nutrients like potash or phosphorus or nitrogen or whatever it is. So how about the compatibility of these microbes together to be used as a single entity?
Is very important again. Sometimes there is a compatibility exists and some cross incompatibility.
Okay.
There is a microbe interactions are also there. So sometimes one microbial population, they dominates other microbes.
Okay.
Once again, we know there is antibiosis, antagonism. There are many, once again, it's not the time to discuss all those things, but it's a lot of things. But yes, as you said, when you talk about the consortium, we need to see the compatibility, definitely. So, microbial engineering strategies, once you identify an organism, understand, characterize its functions and its applicability on the plant, it's not exactly the microbe, how these microbes helps the plant. It's in drought, or it's a salt stress, or it may be enzyme production, or it may be nutrient uptake, or it may be sometimes cytophore production, hexane production, anything. You need to understand these functions and make a consortium and introduce it. So for that, how to introduce it? That is what exactly we want, a delivery system, finally. Whatever, irrespective of the research, we need a particular product which can be used in, of course, package of that go into package of practices of the farmers. So therefore, these are the strategies where we can seed coat or seedling dates or maybe soil and rhizosphere inoculations. Nowadays, injections are possible and also capsules, tablets. There are many strategies are there, and host-mediated responses also. So there are several strategies. This all depends upon how serious, how deep you are into research. But nevertheless, now coming to, I want to sum up this microbiome at a glance. Yes, microbes are omnipresent. They are in air, soil, and water. AMBs, I name it as agri-microbiomes. Agri-microbiomes, and they can be used to at least control some biotic stresses and abiotic stresses. Biotic stresses, like as I mentioned, we can use these microbes to control pathogens and also insect pests. And abiotic stress, definitely, apart from abiotic stress, like as I mentioned, drought stress and other things, and also helps in growth and development of the crops. So therefore, I have categorized here the 4 types of functions. One is growth and development, antibiotic production, abiotic stress management, biotic stress management, and bioremediations. This is another important aspect. So nowadays, almost all the soils are contaminated with chemical pesticides or chemical nutrients. I know there's a big subject again. We can administer these microbes which can work on these deposits and they can convert or break down and into nutrients molecules. And
sorry, can we go back to see something which is important is on the abiotic stress. Like typically for a country like India, something with Sanskrit say Ativrushti, Anavrushti. Either you have excess or you don't have, whether it is temperatures or rains or floods or cyclones. So like in places where the temperatures are very high and there's a water stress on the plant system. So this AMBs will help the plant to reduce the transpiration or something like that, you mean, through the abiotic stress?
See, yeah, exactly. What is stress? First of all, we need to understand the stress mechanisms.
Yes.
See, we know the enzymes and proteins plays a major role in stress mitigations. So these microbes, they induce stress-related enzymes and proteins. So therefore, they can improve this what you call plant metabolic activity. Thereby, it can reduce the effect of stress, maybe salt stress or drought stress. There are several research papers, and also there are products are coming up. There are many products now in research trials where they can mitigate this kind of abiotic and biotic stress. So now this is our, we have proposed a schematic, representative microbiome engineering. See, we need to have a kind of a gene pool. I mean to say that once again, the microbiomes, a set of microbes, and we call them as functional microbial bank. You can get these microbes from several rhizospheres or philospheres or endospheres of several kinds of crops, study them at every level, applying omics, and then you can deposit, and you can have your own bank. And whenever you want to have a kind of a modify a particular crops microbiome, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4 and make a consortium, and the consortium can be converted into a delivery system and also a method to introduce into the crop. As I told, it can be a tablet, it can be a capsule or injection, maybe powder or a granule. And yes, this is a kind of trait development, and this is a non-GMO approach of trait development. Maybe, if not today, tomorrow, people may develop a super microbiome. So that is, of course, a dream of any scientist who is associated with the microbiome research, where you can definitely, what is happening in human microbiome is also like this in plant microbiome. Definitely there will be a reduction, there will be a chance of reducing usage of GMO plant, and that can be replaced by the modified microbiomes. So this is what exactly a schematic representation, how to utilize these microbes in the form of a consortium, convert into a delivery system using a crop to make a modified environment to a particular crop plant to withstand, once again, abiotic stress or biotic stress, or helpful for its growth and development. So this is just like a schematic representation again, where it is optimized, unoptimized microbiomes, and once it is optimized, so what happens is only just a depiction here. Coming to the commercial part of this microbiome business. As I mentioned, all plants in all environment depends on microbes. And potentially all microbes required, all plants required microbial associations. Therefore, the future is optimizing this microbial environment is going to be a good business. It may be for a philosphere or endosphere, or maybe seed coating, or maybe rhizosphere applications. And the business principle is to reduce other inputs straight away. So we do not know whether we can create a new business or not, or maybe we can take the existing business. But irrespective of everything, it is only replacing some chemicals with organics and biologicals. And market size, it's very mind-boggling. We do not know where India stands here at this moment. So agricultural microbials market is 6 billion and reaching 11.6 in 2025. And the global inoculants and the global biological seed treatment, maybe it is all around 800 millions, and that will reach more than 100,000 million by 2025. And the seed treatment alone, it is 6.8 billion, out of which maybe 800 million is the seed treatment market, out of the total seed treatment. So the figures are very, very attractive, and definitely is a growing business, is a ray of hope again to get more entrepreneurs into this business. And definitely it's very lucrative and very promising, and at the same time very challenging, because it's not just a business, it is a techno-commercial business. And these are the verticals. Yes, if you talk about the business verticals, yes, you mentioned about the chemicals. maybe weedicide or fungicide or insecticides or rodenticides, so many chemicals. Likewise, here also we have the functional verticals in the business: seed treatment, root zone activations, and also organic matter buildup and bioremediations, soil pest management, soil pathogen management, nitrogen fixation, phosphorus. So now for every element, as I mentioned, N, P, K, zinc, magnesium, silicon. So for every element, there is a micro, which can help, either it may be mobilization or fixation or solubilization. And yes, coming to the label claim, when it comes to the business, definitely this we need to follow this. Everyone has to follow this. And yes, as I mentioned, there are quality enhancement. This is only a point where biostimulants are now based on, because biostimulants neither comes under chemical FCO nor under Insecticide Act, because they have the only indirect mechanisms, not the directly. So therefore, is a special category is coming up. But nutrient assimilation, abiotic stress tolerance, biotic stress tolerance, and also crop quality enhancement. These are the label claim you need to give on the label. And also, you have to mention about the active ingredient. It's a micro, definitely. And what is the population? What is the number in the formulation? How many CFU? How many spores per gram? And the method of analysis, dossier, how to use, when to use, how much to be used, and the mode of action. These are the various claims. And finally, justification through measurable indicators. Of course, like any chemical pesticide or fungicide. So we need to provide all this data to get registered our product. So we need to follow these specific standards, like unlike other chemicals. As I mentioned just now, the regulatory. So as I mentioned, these are the only 4 kinds of applications, like biofertilizers, biopesticides, bioremediations, and also biostimulants. Of course, biofertilizer comes under FCO 1985, and the biopesticides is Insecticide 1968, now PMA 2020, Pesticide Management Bill or Pesticide Management Act. And biostimulants, yes, everyone knows it. Draft guidelines are there right now. Maybe anytime that can be enacted, and maybe coming up under FCO in 2020, if possible. As of now, the bioremediation, we do not have any legislature, any act. So these are the 4 kinds of product portfolio, and governed by 2 acts as of now, FCO, Insecticide Act. And this is reshaping the microbiomes and their commercial steps to follow. Initially, as I mentioned, strain isolation, strain characterization, and strain functions, etc. Understand and make a bank. So that is the discovery phase. Followed by development of cost-effective bioprocess, upscaling, fermentations, downstream processing, and also making a proper formulation with proper shelf life. And commercialization through regulatory process. Like you required, as I mentioned, the label claim, the dossiers, etc., and where you can address seed health, soil health, and plant health. And apart from that, the bioremediation is the other one. And also mentioned here, there are several kinds of delivery systems: liquids, powders, granules, gels, capsules. They're all available right now across the globe. And even in India also, we have the capsules with the powder, granules, etc. But here comes the very important part. That is the role of State Biodiversity Board and the National Biodiversity Board. Since we are dealing with microbes, since we are into the natural of these microbials from various habitats, any kind of a habitat. So there is an act, the National Biodiversity Act, that says that you need to share the benefits of it. If you are utilizing the resources, you need to share the benefit. For that, there are several clauses, several applications to be made to the State Diversity Board as well as National Diversity Board, and to get permission, then only you should start working with these microbes. You can't export these microbes anywhere else. You cannot share the data of your research with anyone. And you cannot just like take your microbes from the soil and do experimentation without any permissions. This is very, very, very critical subject. And though it is enacted more than a decade back, but very less people really implementing it is. This is one important bottleneck. Of course, organizations are working on it, how to ease it. But this is one precaution for everyone to make a note of it, to consult state biodiversity or national biodiversity before you start any microbial work, where if you want to, resource utilize from various ecosystems. It may be soils, or maybe water bodies, or it may be the forest ecosystem, or even marine ecosystems, anywhere. But the benefit sharing must be there. You have to register with the state diversity or national biodiversity boards. And overall, this is a summary. So we require a well-defined strain or a consortium and understand its mode of action and a measurable quantitative and qualitative parameters and a proper delivery system. It should have the shelf life at least a minimum 1 season, and crop specific or broad spectrum applications, and registration data, bioefficacy, shelf life, so on and so forth. And the pricing is the another one. We have a lot of combination with the chemicals within the biologicals and organics, and also considering all the stakeholders, maybe dealers, distributors, farmers, our own staff, and extension officers, because so once again there are limitations for these microbiome products. Shelf life is a problem, storage is a problem, efficacy is it's not like a prophylactic. Sometimes it's a prophylactic, curative, it's very difficult sometimes. So there are ifs and buts, but we need to reach a farmer through only stakeholders. And is worth mention here, yes, there are several organizations across the globe. Many organizations working on or helping associating this microbiome research extension. And we have one organization called Asian PGPR, Society for Sustainable Agriculture. It was in fact actually founded in India. Stalwarts like Dr. M.S. Reddy, Dr. V.R. Sharma, all associated with this. And this is one organization really helping all the stakeholders of agriculture, how to use these microbes in agriculture, and how to research areas, extension, and also kind of a publicity for the microbial usage in agriculture. This is one such organization really helping. And apart from that, in India, we have our own organization, Bio-Input Producers Association, BIPA, which was formed around 17 years back, also helping many entrepreneurs. And this is another organization. At Indian level is BIPA, and also international PGPR. Anyone is interested, they can really reach these organizations to get acquaintance with the microbiome research, extension, etc. So I will stop it here. Definitely agri-microbiomes are very important for crop productivity and also sustainability from field to flask to field to field future. So this is the concept, and definitely the audience, of course, open for discussion or any kind of a question. Raz.
Amazing, doctor. This is extremely good combination of flasks to feed to the future. For us, the audience, it's a great combination of, with the basic ideation or knowledge to a complete picture of what agri-microbiomes are and how they can help in sustainable agriculture. Doctor, I think it was a marathon presentation for you. I have few questions where you can answer, and then we will try and take already so many hands going up for you to ask questions. Audience, have a little patience, we'll surely get back to you. What I have seen since I know you, you have a huge passion for this, which even now I could see. You speak the subject n number of times, but each time, you're so passionate about it that you get involved in it. Why why don't you take this as you are already into it as a guide. You're already part of Asian PGPR Society at a global level. You're already president of BIPA. How you can guide or mentor some of the entrepreneurs who would be keen to get into this field, both at individually as Dr. K.R. Reddy. Of course, you are guiding a lot of MSc, PhD, postdoctorate students, but maybe for entrepreneurs or already into this business as an individual and as an organization also. Like, is there a possibility, one, how to develop this business? Number
Yeah,
two,
of course.
yeah,
I don't think any organization, I mean, as an individual, I can definitely support anyone.
excellent.
And as a personally, I have another organization called KRK Technologics.
Okay,
Organization, yes, we started giving consultancy in, I mean, 2 or 3 other countries. We are open for kind of a.
what kind of consultancy you offer?
So anything like microbiome research or developing a product or protocols. So on and so forth.
Okay, and see, to use these microbiomes or the technology to be adopted with the farmers, are there any services involved or where you can take it as a project for the application to the farmers or the large farms or institutions?
Yeah, as I mentioned, we have actually launched My AgriBiome platform. We just started working.
Can you take us through that? What exactly you do in that?
Yeah, there in fact actually we will be collecting soils from the respective horticulture farms, especially. Will be generally most of the cases soil test means only people look at organic carbon content or humus content or the nutrient content. Nobody looks at the microbial load, it may be good or bad. But we started working on testing the soil samples for microbial dynamics. As I mentioned you, it's only less than 1% culturable microbes we can. So therefore, we will be identifying the pathogens and also the essential microbes which are required for the plant growth and development. The functional microbes. Suppose the nutrient, we call associated microbes. I mentioned nitrogen fixing microbes or phosphate solubilizing. So these kind of microbes and drought mitigating microbes, biotic stress mitigating, like maybe presence of the trichodermas or biocontrol agents or something like that. We will be broad profiling of the soil in terms of microbial components. We started this service.
Excellent. Doctor, I think what we do, there's a lot of questions coming up. So
Yeah.
can we take some questions from the audience?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The time is not a limit.
Yeah, there are already there are already few questions who have been put on the Q&A, but since there are few hands raised up, so I will take some of them asking. Quite a few, huge number. We will take in random. We have Lalita Sundaram. Lalita Sundaram, madam, can you introduce yourself and put your question to Dr. K.R. Reddy? Can you?
Sir,
Yes.
Yeah. Sir, good evening.
Good evening.
This is from Lalita from Salem Periyar University.
How are you, ma'am?
Yeah, fine, sir. Hope we are meeting again in Zoom after Uzbek meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, sir, your presentation is extraordinary. It is easy to understand that even a layman to understand that one, but this is a small gap between the industry and the research and the farmers in the what they are actually in the field struggling. So how can you bridge these two things, sir?
See, it's a massive task, in fact, actually.
Yes.
So it should come from the education system, from the research systems.
Yes.
So we have very limited role in this, in fact, as a private institutions. But we are trying our level best to bridge this gap last 2.5 decades. At least we see some limelight now. Decades back when we started, nobody knows it. At least now the farmers, they understand fertilizers, biopesticides, including dealers, extension people, our own staff members.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Lalita madam. Now we have Suhas Pachpule. Mr. Suhas, can you speak? Introduce yourself and talk. Suhas Pachpule. Please unmute yourself.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Hello, sir. I am not talking in English. Hindi, sir.
हाँ बोलिए हिंदी में बोलिए.
सर वो जो ट्राइकोडर्मा है, सुडोमोनास बैसिलस है, वो जो है.
आप अपने थोड़ा सुहाजी आप थोड़ा अपने बारे में बताएंगे.
सर मैं फार्मिंग करता हूँ ग्रेप की.
अच्छा कहाँ पे?
येल्लोमोड़ी सोलापुर गांव येल्लोमोड़ी है, तालुका मोहोळ, डिस्ट्रिक्ट सोलापुर.
ठीक है, आप लोग सब सुरक्षित है ना वहाँ पे?
हाँ हाँ सुरक्षित है सर.
अब आपका प्रश्न बताइए डॉक्टर रेड्डी साहब.
वो ट्राइकोडर्मा ये जो बायोलॉजिकल प्रोडक्ट है वो मिक्सिंग का किसमें क्या चलता है किसमें नहीं चलता है. वो ट्राइकोडर्मा बैसिलस सुडोमोनास या पैस्यूरोमाइसिस इसमें चलता है क्या वो मिक्सिंग में स्प्रे करते समय?
Mixing.
Can you mix trichoderma in other what do you call it?
Generally,
as a time mix?
Yeah.
पैस्यूरोमाइसिस जो हम स्प्रे करते हैं बगीचे के ऊपर, तो उसमें मिक्सिंग चलता है क्या जब क्लाइमेट खराब होता है तो उस टाइम?
See, there are two questions here. One is farmers tend to mix biological agents with the chemicals. Pesticides or sometimes granulated chemical fertilizers. They're not supposed to do it. Number two is mixing of different 2 or 3 kinds of biological agents. If you are able to multiply these biological agents prior to mixing in an organic host or something like that, see, finally, all these microbes, they coexist. They live in the rhizospheres. So therefore, if you can, yes. Only thing is, if they are compatible, the most of the microbes, see, we from the same soil we isolate all these things. We isolate trichodermas or bacillus, pseudomonads, or same things isolate. But the only thing is whether they are compatible or not, we do not know unless until we test. But definitely once they reach the soil, they have their own means of survival.
Thank you. We have Dr. Amit Tripathi. Dr. Amit Tripathi, are you there? Can you speak?
Yeah. Hello.
Dr. Tripathi, yes, he is heading the nutrition business at Indofil. Go ahead, sir. Dr. Tripathi, can you speak? Unmute and speak. Looks like there's some issue with okay. Now let me go to.
Maybe I would like to add Ras here.
Yeah.
Ras?
Yes, sir.
See, in fact, actually, the consortiums are not yet approved by the government.
Okay.
But TNAU, right from the beginning, they are advising farmers to combine trichoderma and pseudomonas. And we also tried. So we used to do these combinations in the beginning days. And the farmers, they used to get real good benefit, especially to control rhizome rot in turmeric or any soil-borne diseases. Both works. And there are now formulations are coming up, combination of trichoderma and pseudomonas also. But as of now, there is no regulatory guidance on it.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Rupesh Kumar Arora, can you speak? Rupesh Kumar Arora ji, can you introduce yourself? Ask, please unmute and speak. Can you unmute? You have raised your hand. Rupesh Kumar.
Good evening, sir.
Good
Hello.
evening.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Dr. Rupesh Arora. Sir, I want to ask, is any microbial consortia available which can be applied in case of cotton soil to fight against abiotic stress?
Yeah. See, they are all available, but they are private label. Private label, not under any act as of now. They're all under trials.
Okay. Is matlab, apart from the Trichoderma pseudomonas, other type of matlab, I want to ask the microbial consortia that I am knowing that they are working against the biotic stresses.
Yes,
Soil-borne
please.
diseases,
Yes.
Trichoderma pseudomonas is available already. But I am asking that is any microbial consortia available in the market,
So,
Indian market commercially, which is working against the abiotic stress in any
yeah.
field crops or vegetable crops?
Yes, they are available, but the only thing is the label claim is very difficult because most of the bioagents are to be registered under Insecticide Act. If they are as a biocontrol capacity, they should be registered under biopesticides. But as you mentioned, it's abiotic stress comes under as a biostimulant activity, but it's all private labels are available.
It might be available in future. Matlab you want to say, sir?
Maybe once biostimulant act in force, so definitely these like the indirect mechanisms of the PGPRs or bacillus strains for nutrition management or maybe abiotic stress management, they may be registered, not for biotic stress.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'll take maybe one or two questions more. I'm sure Dr. Reddy would love to answer your questions. If you can send your questions, I will forward the questions to Dr. Reddy and then he would answer them. We'll forward, send them back to you because a lot of things. I'll take maybe one or two more. Now, I'm just going randomly wherever my thing going on. So let me go to Udhav Srisat. Mr. Udhav Srisat, can you speak? Unmute and talk, please. Yes.
Sir, good evening. This is Uddhav Sirsat, Knowledge Transfer Manager from
Yeah.
East West Seeds. Thank you very much for the very nice presentation and a lot of information. We are working in the field and maximum support and control is from it is a chemical fertilizer, it is a chemicals for controlling insect and pest. What will be the future these products when it will be commercial available on large scale with the Krishi Seva Kendras, with the agriculture input shops in near future? What will be the status?
Yeah, it's a very good question. See, as of now, very few companies are producing these bioagents. India requires tons and thousands of tons of these bioagents to reach every farmer, like a chemical. But we have very few manufacturers. But unfortunately, the registration system is not favorable to the MSMEs. That's what we are actually fighting last 2.5 decades to ease the guidelines. But sometimes we know what happens at the bureaucracy level. It is taking, even after having all the data provided by the national institutions, it is taking years and years of time to get registration. So this is the biggest bottleneck for bioagents or any kind of a biological input to register in this country. This is really unfortunate thing. But definitely there are good laboratories in the private sector working. They have very good strains and very good formulations. The only bottleneck is the registration procedures. So some friends asked just now about controlling the abiotic stress or mitigating abiotic stress using microbes. Yes, microbes are there. The formulations are there. But unfortunately, we have the system. We need to follow the system, like once again, dealers and distributors and government permissions are there. This is the biggest bottleneck. Unless until we register, we can't sell any product.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Very
Thank
nice,
you.
sir. But
Thank you.
it is
Thank you.
the need of
Dr.
the society now. It is need of the farmers, and definitely we as a association uh, can do something. Can put up to the central government and look forward for faster availability or faster making supply to the farmers. That is a need for health point of view for the community, sir.
Yeah, yes. It is actually just started recently. The few associations from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, and Maharashtra, and also Delhi. So we are now collectively working together to pursue with the government.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
At this point, I would request the attendees and audience, as Dr. Reddy is the president of Biagri Inputs Producers Association. It's a very strong body of 17 years lineage. I would request the researchers, corporates, companies, institutions, universities to please know more about this organization through bipaindia.org, our website, and then also you can explore to become members of this society. You can go to the website bipaindia.org, so you will get a lot more details. Before we conclude, I'll take maybe last question. Rajeshwari, can you please speak? Can you unmute and speak, Rajeshwari? Rajeshwari, you have raised your hand. Are you there? Can you unmute and speak, please? Okay, she's not responding. I'll go to Jyoti Shankar Rao. Can you speak, Jyoti ji? Jyoti Shankar ji? I think they raised hands for me. Okay. Mr. Prakash?
Thank you for giving an opportunity to interact. So, Dr. KRK, actually, it's a very general question.
Can you introduce yourself, Prakash?
Sorry, sir. This is Dr. Prakash from Hyderabad, and actually, I'm also working in the same field. I just wanted to know your view. I saw in one of your slide that you put a question mark, also oblique, for the biostimulants, whether it will be in the FCO, or what it could be. I just wanted to know your view. You have excellent knowledge in the field, and since many years you are in this area. So, what could be the scenario? Whether it will be FCO or there will be some other regulations for the PBS?
Yeah, it comes under Mr. Prakash ji. See, you know the draft guidelines are approved.
Yeah.
And it's maybe coming under FCO.
Okay.
Order. And unfortunately, what happens? The requirements are more than insecticide. So they required all these seasonal data and also toxicology and shelf life. So much data is required. It's very difficult to develop such data for a biostimulant or a biostimulant. It is an expensive affair. That means we are stopping our own research and harming our own farming community by putting such a stringent guidelines for biostimulants. So other friends said, yes, definitely these biologicals through years, they are not GMOs, they are not harmful, they are eco-friendly, they're all required, they all should reach the farming community by this time now. So he was asking, it should be available at KVKs and research institutions, and it should reach every acre of the land. Unfortunately, it is not happening even after 3 decades. So it is mostly because a lot of entrepreneurs are there, they are ready to invest, there are a lot of researchers, scholars, they are ready to enter into this business, but unfortunately, this is the biggest bottleneck.
Yeah.
To take this product to the grassroots level.
Yeah, thank you for the answer. But sir, another connection to that, don't you think that government is purposefully delaying by putting a lot of bottlenecks because it is already proved that these are not harmful to the environment or the human and the animals as well. But they are giving the permission to the insecticide very easily, and they are putting a lot of regulations for such kind of things which are in the interest of the mankind.
If you ask me, there are two. So if you ask me across the table, I have only a straight answer and a straight solution for this. If anybody claims the bioefficacy of the microbe, it may be any Bacillus or Trichoderma or Pseudomonas, as long as it is not GMO, with a minimum of data, it should be made available to the farming community. But unfortunately, it's not happening.
Yeah.
You see, because these are all not imported, not engineered. They're all the native microbes. And with the minimum data, it should be approved. The second question, as you said, the government deliberately stopped. I cannot comment here. Maybe some forces may be working.
Yeah, I can understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thanks for the interaction.
Thanks, sir. So I'm tempted to take one question, though I'm telling everybody last time with so much enthusiasm, let me not disappoint him. Dr. R.C. Jain. Can you unmute and speak, Dr. R.C. Jain? Okay, he is online, but okay.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, he's there.
I'm Dr. Jain, working in the Soil Science Department, Aarey College of Agriculture, Sihor. Hello.
Good evening, Dr. Jain. Good evening, Dr.
Good evening, sir. I am working as soil scientist here at Aarey College of Agriculture, Sihor.
Sir.
RVS KVV Gwalior.
Okay.
As I observed, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi along with some PGPRs are working well against abiotic stresses. Can it be possible to multiply AMF in the farmer field itself using some maize or sorghum varieties?
Sir, all microbes, they thrive well in farmers' fields, provided you give the proper conditions like the soil moisture and soil organic matter.
Okay, sir.
These two are very important. Soil moisture and soil organic matter, any organism grows in a given conditions. It's not extreme conditions. I'm talking about the field conditions.
Sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I mean, a lot of questions coming in, and Dr. Reddy patiently answered all of them. So, Dr. Reddy, I think it's time to say bye to the attendees and the audience who have been.
Thank you, Raj, and thank you all the participants. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Yes, and before we part, I would like to speak a minute about Ray Consulting, where probably especially a field like this. One is, we are into strategy, marketing, and we connect and we make a product go to market. So this is a very specific field. I call it as a tricky field, to go to a farmer, to go to a channel, to convince a company. So you might have a very good technology, a disruptive technology. Probably a company like us, a consulting company like us, Ray Consulting, can help you to take to the right channel if you have a great product. And in case if you're looking for some investments if you have an awesome product, please get in touch with us so we can connect you to the right investors. All this talks by this awesome leaders like Dr. K.R. Reddy are uploaded on our YouTube channel. In case some of your friends who are registered or couldn't make it for various reasons, or you want to watch the entire presentation what Dr. Reddy gave today, you may visit maybe in a day's time to YouTube channel, youtube.com/reconsulting. And I mentioned earlier, every Saturday 4 o'clock we have fixed the Ray Talks in AgriVision, hear from the leaders. In case you miss getting notifications from us to see the updates, please visit our page or like our page on Facebook and LinkedIn, Ray Consulting, so that you will get the updates without even mail or anything. And on next Saturday, that is on 20th, we are going to discuss on digitization in agricultural, more so in agricultural inputs and finance. I would be talking to Mr. Nagarajan, Chief Operating Officer, Rallis India, Arindam Datta, Executive Director, Rabobank, Anil SG from Samunnati, and Shardul Seth from AgroStar. So please don't miss to join this webinar and get to know more about agri value chain. So I thank all the attendees, audience, and Dr. K.R. Reddy. You really took so much pains to bring this presentation and make us, the entire audience, understand what agri microbiomes are. And surely this is going to be a huge awareness, not only with this discussion, but we post it on various media, which will only help for a better sustainable agriculture through agri microbiomes. Thank you so much, Dr. Reddy. Thank you all.
Thank you, Rahas. Thank you very much.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And stay safe, please.
Thank you.